The fluorescent lights of Little Stars Daycare buzzed with the aggressive persistence of a mosquito that refused to die. Maya Torres had learned to tune out the noise during her 18-month tenure as an assistant teacher, the same way she'd learned to tune out the screaming of 15 toddlers simultaneously demanding juice, the same way she'd learned to tune out the gnawing anxiety about her student loan payments that were 3 months overdue. What she couldn't tune out was the chaos of Friday pickup time. It was 5:47 p.m., 13 minutes before closing, and the daycare looked like a tornado had mated with a glitter bomb. Toys littered every surface. Half-eaten crackers decorated the floor like confetti from the world's saddest parade. And somewhere in the back room, 2-year-old Milo Brennan was having a complete meltdown because his mother had dared to arrive wearing the wrong colored shoes. Purple shoes! Milo screamed, his face turning an alarming shade of red. You promised purple shoes. Milo, honey, I'm wearing purple shoes, his exhausted mother pleaded, lifting one foot to display clearly purple footwear. Wrong purple! Maya rubbed her temples, feeling the beginnings of a headache that no amount of ibuprofen could cure. She was 26 years old with a bachelor's degree in early childhood education that had cost her $60,000 and qualified her to earn $12 an hour wiping noses and mediating disputes over plastic dinosaurs. She'd had bigger dreams once. Graduate school. Maybe running her own preschool someday. But dreams required money, and money required not having to choose between paying rent and paying the electricity bill. Maya. Jennifer, the head teacher, called from the front desk. Can you help Mrs. Chun? She's running late and needs to grab Sophia's bag quickly. Maya plastered on her professional smile, the one that hid the exhaustion and the quiet desperation. Of course. She navigated through the obstacle course of abandoned building blocks and discarded tiny shoes, heading toward the cubbies where the children's belongings were stored. The cubbies were color-coded and labeled, a system that worked beautifully in theory and catastrophically in practice when parents were rushing. Mrs. Chun was already at the cubbies, her phone pressed to her ear, her other hand gesturing frantically as she spoke rapid Mandarin to whoever was on the other end. She pointed at Maya, then at the cubbies, then at her watch, her eyes pleading. Maya understood the universal language of the working mother. I'm late, I'm stressed, and I need to leave 5 minutes ago. She scanned the cubbies quickly. Sophia Chen. Purple backpack with the unicorn patch. She grabbed the bag from the cubby, did a quick visual check, it looked right, felt about the right weight, and handed it to Mrs. Chun. Thank you, Mrs. Chun breathed, still on her phone. She took the bag without looking, blew a kiss toward the playroom where Sophia was building a tower and rushed out the door. Crisis averted. Except it wasn't. Maya turned back to the playroom and froze. Sophia Chin was still sitting on the floor, stacking blocks with intense concentration. And next to her cubby, the purple backpack with the unicorn patch sat untouched. Maya's stomach dropped like a stone down a well. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. She grabbed the wrong bag. But if that wasn't Sophia's bag, whose was it? Maya rushed back to the cubbies, her heart starting to pound. She scanned the labels frantically. The purple bags all looked so similar in the chaos. Her eyes landed on the cubby directly above Sophia's. Dante Moretti. Oh no. Dante was new to the daycare, had only been enrolled for 2 weeks. He was a quiet, serious 3-year-old with dark curls and enormous brown eyes that seemed to see everything. He rarely cried, rarely spoke, and had an unsettling habit of staring at people as if he were cataloging their weaknesses. Maya had only met his father once, during the initial enrollment. Mr. Moretti had been tall, imposing, dressed in a suit that probably cost more than Maya's entire wardrobe. He'd spoken in quiet, controlled sentences, his eyes constantly scanning the daycare as if looking for threats. He'd paid the entire year's tuition in cash, which had made Jennifer nearly faint with joy. There had been something about him that had made Maya's survival instincts ping like a radar. He wasn't like the other parents. He didn't make small talk. He didn't smile at the finger paintings on the wall. He'd looked at the security cameras, the exit routes, the locks on the windows. And now Maya had just handed his son's bag to the wrong parent. She looked at the clock. 5:51 p.m. Mrs. Chin was probably already on the highway. and Mr. Moretti would be arriving at 6 p.m. sharp. He was always exactly on time, another thing that separated him from the chronically late parents Maya usually dealt with. "It's fine," Maya muttered to herself, her hands shaking slightly as she pulled out her phone. "I'll just call Mrs. Chun. She'll bring it back. We'll swap bags. Everything will be fine." She dialed. The call went straight to voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Text message. "Mrs. Chun, I think I gave you the wrong bag by accident. Can you please come back?" The message showed as delivered but not read. Maya looked at Dante, who was sitting quietly in the reading corner, turning the pages of a board book about trucks. He seemed perfectly content, completely unaware that his belongings were currently heading north on the interstate. "Okay," Maya breathed. "Okay. I'll just explain to Mr. Moretti when he gets here. I'll apologize. These things happen. He'll understand." Except she had a sinking feeling that Mr. Moretti was not a man who understood mistakes. The next 8 minutes passed with the speed of continental drift. Maya cleaned up the playroom with mechanical efficiency, her mind racing through apology scripts. She helped Milo's mother wrestle him into his coat. She waved goodbye to the last few stragglers. By 5:59 p.m., only Dante remained. Maya knelt beside him. "Hey, buddy, your dad will be here any minute." Dante looked up from his book, those enormous brown eyes fixed on her face with unnerving intensity. "Okay," he said simply. At exactly 6 p.m., the front door opened. Vincent Moretti stepped inside, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. He was just as Maya remembered, tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the controlled grace of a predator. His black wool coat was dusted with snow that was just beginning to fall outside. His dark hair was styled back from his face, revealing sharp cheekbones and a jaw that looked like it could cut glass. But it was his eyes that made Maya's breath catch. They were dark, almost black, and they held a kind of cold assessment that made her feel like she was being scanned for weaknesses. "Mr. Moretti," Maya said, her voice coming out steadier than she felt. "Thank you for being so punctual." He didn't smile. He didn't make small talk. "Where's Dante?" "Reading corner. He had a great day today. He helped the younger kids with his bag." Vincent interrupted, his voice low and precise. "I'm in a hurry." Maya felt her mouth go dry. "Yes, about that. There's been a small situation." Vincent's eyes sharpened. It wasn't a dramatic change, but Maya felt it like a physical touch. "What situation?" "During the rush of pickup time, I accidentally gave Dante's bag to another parent. I've been trying to reach her, but she's not answering. I'm sure she'll realize the mistake and—" "Which parent?" The question was clipped, sharp as a blade. "Mrs. Chun, Sophia Chen's mother. She was running late and—" "Give me her phone number." "Her address." "Now." Maya's hands trembled as she pulled up the daycare database on the computer. "I can't give out personal information, Mr. Moretti. Privacy regulations. But I promise I'll keep trying to reach her, and we can arrange for—" Vincent leaned forward, placing both hands flat on the desk. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The threat was in his absolute stillness, in the way his eyes bored into hers. "Miss Torres," he said quietly, and the fact that he knew her name when she hadn't introduced herself made her pulse spike. "I need that information. Right now. I can't. I could lose my job." "You'll lose more than your job if you don't give me that number in the next 10 seconds. Maya felt ice water replace the blood in her veins. This wasn't the frustrated impatience of a busy parent. This was something else. Something dangerous. "Mr. Moretti, I understand you're upset, but threatening me isn't. Papa." Dante had appeared beside them, his small hand reaching up to grab Vincent's coat. The transformation was instant and stunning. The cold, threatening man melted into something else. Vincent looked down at his son, and his entire face softened. "Hey, buddy," Vincent said, his voice warm now, gentle. He picked Dante up with easy strength, settling the boy on his hip. "You ready to go home?" "I made a picture," Dante said, pointing toward the art wall. "We'll look at it together. Go get your coat." Dante squirmed down and trotted toward the coat hooks. The moment he was out of earshot, Vincent turned back to Maya. The warmth vanished like it had never existed. "What was in the bag?" Maya asked suddenly, the question escaping before she could stop it. Why are you so worried about a bag of diapers and spare clothes? Vincent stared at her for a long moment. She watched calculations happening behind his eyes. You really don't know, he said finally. It wasn't a question. Know what? He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then looked back at her. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get in your car and go home. You're going to forget this conversation. And when Mrs. Chen returns the bag tomorrow, you're going to hand it to me personally. Do you understand? And if she doesn't return it tomorrow, she will. The certainty in his voice was absolute. One way or another. Maya felt anger flare through her fear. You can't just. I can. Vincent cut her off. And I will. This is for your protection, Miss Torres. You made an honest mistake. Don't compound it by getting curious. He turned and called to Dante. Come on, son. We're leaving. But my bag. We'll get your things tomorrow. Let's go. Dante looked confused but didn't argue. He took his father's hand, and they walked toward the door. Vincent paused at the threshold, looking back at Maya. Forget about the bag, he said quietly. It's not worth your life. Then they were gone, leaving Maya standing alone in the empty daycare, her heart hammering against her ribs. It's not worth your life. The words echoed in the silence. What the hell had she given to Mrs. Chen? Maya's apartment was a studio on the 4th floor of a building that had been charming in the 1970s and was now just old. The radiator clanked like a ghost with a grudge. The window didn't quite close all the way, letting in a draft that no amount of weather stripping could stop. But it was hers, paid for with her meager paychecks and her carefully rationed groceries. She dropped her bag on the small table that served as both dining surface and desk, kicked off her shoes, and collapsed onto her futon. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. Everything okay? Saw Mr. Moretti leave without Dante's bag. He seemed upset. Maya stared at the message. Upset was an understatement. She typed back. Gave wrong bag to Mrs. Chen by accident. He was understanding. The lie felt necessary. Another buzz. This time, an unknown number. This is Vincent Moretti. I need you to tell me everything, Mrs. Chen said when she picked up the bag. Every word. Maya sat up. How did he get my number? She typed. From the daycare database? His response was immediate. Answer the question. Maya felt her hands shaking again. She forced herself to breathe slowly to think. Mrs. Chen had been on the phone, distracted. She barely looked at Maya, just grabbed the bag and left. Had she noticed it was the wrong one? Had she opened it? She typed. She was on a call. Didn't say anything to me. Took the bag and left immediately. Seemed stressed. 3 dots appeared, indicating he was typing. Then they disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, if she contacts you, you contact me immediately. Do not open the bag if she returns it. Do not look inside. Are we clear? Maya's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Every instinct she had was screaming at her to block this number, to call the police, to report the threatening behavior. But something stopped her. Maybe it was the way Vincent had looked at his son. Maybe it was the genuine fear she'd heard beneath the threats. Or maybe it was the curiosity that was eating her alive. What was in that bag? She typed. Clear. No response. Maya set her phone down and walked to her tiny kitchen. She pulled out the cheap wine she kept for emergencies and poured herself a glass that was significantly larger than the recommended serving size. Her hands were still shaking. She'd worked at Little Stars for 18 months. In that time, she dealt with difficult parents, demanding parents, late parents, parents who didn't speak English, parents who expected her to raise their children for them. But she'd never dealt with a parent who made her feel like she was in actual physical danger. Vincent Moretti was different. Maya pulled out her laptop and did something she knew she shouldn't do. She Googled him. The first few results were innocuous. Vincent Moretti, CEO of Moretti Import-Export. Several photos from charity galas, always in an expensive suit, always with the same controlled expression. A brief mention in a business journal about expanding operations. Then she added Chicago to the search. The results changed. Alleged organized crime figure Vincent Moretti. Federal investigation into Moretti family business practices. Son of deceased mob boss Leonardo Moretti takes over operations. Maya's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. Mob boss. She'd given a bag belonging to a mob boss's son to the wrong parent. "Oh God," she whispered. "Oh God, oh God, oh God." She clicked through the articles with increasingly panicked speed. Most were speculation, carefully worded to avoid libel. Vincent Moretti had never been convicted of anything. He'd never even been formally charged. But the implication was clear. The Moretti family was one of the oldest and most powerful organized crime families in Chicago. And his 3-year-old son went to her daycare. Maya slammed her laptop shut. This was bad. This was very, very bad. Her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "Is this Maya Torres?" She stared at the message. Different number from Vincent's. Cautiously, "Who is this?" "This is Janet Chin. I think you gave me the wrong bag today." Relief flooded through Maya so intensely she felt dizzy. "Mrs. Chun." "Yes. I'm so sorry about the mix-up. Can you bring it back tomorrow morning?" 3 dots. Then, I opened it. Maya's relief evaporated. "Oh, that's okay. These things happen. There's money in it." Maya's heart stopped. "What?" "A lot of money. I don't know what to do. Is this some kind of mistake?" Maya's mind raced. Vincent's threats. His desperation to get the bag back. "It's not worth your life." She typed carefully, "Mrs. Chun, please don't touch anything else in that bag. I'm going to arrange for Mr. Moretti to pick it up from you directly. What's your address?" "I'm at the police station." Maya actually gasped out loud. "You're where?" I mean this much money. It has to be illegal, right? I was going to turn it in. But then I saw the news about that robbery last week, the armored car thing, and I thought maybe this is connected, so Mrs. Chun, please don't say anything to the police yet. Please. Just give me 10 minutes. I need to make a call. I already talked to them. They're sending someone to pick it up." The world tilted sideways. Maya tried to keep her voice steady. Okay. That's probably the right thing to do. Thank you for being honest." She hung up and immediately dialed Vincent's number with shaking fingers. He answered on the first ring. "Did she contact you?" "She's at the police station. She opened the bag. She saw the money. She's turning it in." The silence on the other end was so absolute that Maya thought the call had disconnected. "Mr. Moretti?" "What police station?" His voice was flat, emotionless. Somehow that was more terrifying than anger would have been. She didn't say, but she mentioned she thought it might be connected to that armored car robbery last week, so probably the 18th District. "Western Avenue." He wasn't asking. "How long ago did she call you?" "Just now. Maybe 2 minutes." "Did she say if she'd already handed over the bag?" "She said they're sending someone to pick it up." "I don't think." The line went dead. Maya sat frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear. She just helped a suspected mob boss track down a witness who could potentially send him to prison. She was an accessory. She could be charged with. Her phone rang. Vincent again. "I need you to do something for me," he said without preamble. No, I've done enough." "I'm not, Maya." The use of her first name stopped her cold. His voice had changed, lost the edge of threat, replaced with something that sounded almost like pleading. "I know I've scared you. I know this is insane. But I need you to listen very carefully. I should go to the police. If you do that, you'll be dead by morning." Maya's breath caught in her throat. "Are you threatening me?" "No. I'm warning you. The money in that bag doesn't belong to me. I'm holding it for people who are significantly less reasonable than I am. When they find out it's at a police station, they're going to start eliminating everyone who touched it. That includes Mrs. Chun. That includes you. I didn't even see the money. They won't care. They'll assume you did. They'll assume you can identify it, testify about it, tie it to them. You're a liability, Maya. And they eliminate liabilities." Maya's vision was starting to blur at the edges. This couldn't be happening. Yesterday, her biggest problem had been deciding which bill to pay late. Now she was caught in the middle of something involving enough money to make a suburban mother go to the police. "How much money are we talking about?" she whispered. $2 million. Maya made a sound that was halfway between a laugh and a sob. There was $2 million in a diaper bag? Cash. Unmarked. Payment for a business transaction that's supposed to happen in 3 hours. If I don't deliver that money, the people I owe it to will assume I stole it. They will kill me, Maya. And they will kill everyone who might know where it went. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. I know, and I'm sorry you're involved. But you are involved now, and I'm the only thing standing between you and very bad people. So I need you to trust me. Trust you? I don't even know you. You know I have a 3-year-old son who I pick up from daycare every day at exactly 6 p.m. You know I paid a year's tuition in advance because I wanted him to have stability. You know I've never once raised my voice to the staff, even when you served him peanut butter crackers the first week, and I'd specifically noted his allergy. Maya blinked. She'd forgotten about that incident. Jennifer had been the one to handle it, but Vincent was right. He'd been calm, had simply requested they be more careful. Those things don't make you a good person, Maya said, but her voice had lost its edge. They just make you a good father. Then trust the good father to protect you from the bad man's enemies. Please. Maya closed her eyes. Every rational part of her brain was screaming at her to hang up, to call 911, to get as far away from this situation as possible. But a quieter voice, the one that had made her become a teacher instead of something more lucrative, the one that made her spend her own money on supplies for kids whose parents couldn't afford them, that voice was saying that Vincent Moretti was telling the truth. He was scared, not for himself, for his son, and now apparently for her. "What do you need me to do?" she heard herself ask. "I need you to get in your car and drive to the 18th District Police Station. You're going to tell them that you made a mistake, that you gave Mrs. Chin the wrong bag, and that you need to speak to her to get it back. They're not going to let me just take a bag full of money out of a police station. They will if you're crying and explaining that it's a misunderstanding, that the money is your life savings that you stupidly kept in cash because you don't trust banks, and that you grabbed the wrong bag in your hurry this morning. That's the stupidest lie I've ever heard. It doesn't have to be believable. It just has to create enough confusion and paperwork that they don't immediately log it into evidence. While they're trying to sort out who owns what, my lawyer will arrive with documentation proving the money is a legitimate business payment. He'll take custody of it, and you walk away clean. Your lawyer just happens to have documentation for $2 million in cash. My lawyer has documentation for everything. That's why I pay him." Maya laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. "This is crazy. I know. I could go to prison for this. You won't. I promise you won't." "How can you promise that?" "Because I've been doing this for a very long time, Maya, and I've never lost anyone I've promised to protect." The conviction in his voice was absolute. Maya realized with a strange clarity that she believed him. This man, this alleged criminal, this father who'd threatened her an hour ago, she believed he would keep her safe. Maybe that made her stupid. Maybe that made her complicit. But sitting in her cold apartment with her mountain of debt and her dead-end job, Maya realized she'd been safe her whole life, and it hadn't gotten her anywhere. "If I do this," she said slowly, "you owe me. Name it. Dante's tuition for next year. Paid in full. Plus a $10,000 donation to the daycare for new playground equipment. Done. And you answer one question honestly. Depends on the question. Is anyone going to get hurt because of this? Mrs. Chun, me, anyone?" Vincent was quiet for a moment. "Not if I can help it," he said finally. "I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you're both safe. That's the truth, Maya. It's the only truth I can give you." It wasn't the reassurance she wanted, but it was honest. That counted for something. "Text me the address of the police station," Maya said. "I'm leaving now." "Maya." "Yeah, thank you." She hung up before she could change her mind. 20 minutes later, Maya was pulling her 13-year-old Honda Civic into the parking lot of the 18th District Police Station. The building was a hulking concrete structure that looked like it had been designed by someone who'd never heard of windows or joy. Snow was falling more heavily now, coating everything in white. Maya sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm her racing heart. She could still leave. She could drive away right now, go home, pretend this never happened. Except Vincent was right. The people who owned that money wouldn't care about her intentions. They'd only care about her connection to it. She was trapped in this the moment she'd handed Mrs. Chin that bag. Maya took a deep breath, grabbed her purse, and walked toward the entrance. The automatic doors slid open with a mechanical sigh. Inside, the station smelled like industrial cleaner and stale coffee. A bored-looking officer sat behind a plexiglass barrier at the front desk. "Help you?" he asked without looking up from his computer. Yes. I need to speak to someone about a bag. I think there's been a mistake." The officer finally looked at her. His eyes were tired, bloodshot. He'd probably been on shift for 10 hours and had 5 more to go. "What kind of bag?" "A diaper bag. Purple. With a unicorn patch. I accidentally gave it to the wrong parent at the daycare where I work, and she brought it here, but it's actually mine and I need it back." The officer's expression didn't change. "Your bag?" "Yes. Well, the money inside is mine. I know it's stupid to keep that much cash in a diaper bag, but I don't trust banks, and I was taking it to deposit it. But then I got confused at pickup time and, how much money?" Maya felt her mouth go dry. She hadn't actually asked Vincent for the exact amount to say. A lot." The officer's eyes sharpened. "How much is a lot, ma'am?" I'd have to count it to be sure. It's my savings. From years of work. I keep it in cash because... You said that already. Banks, don't trust them." The officer leaned back in his chair. "You got ID?" Maya handed over her driver's license with shaking hands. The officer examined it, then looked at her, then back at the license. "Maya Elizabeth Torres, 26 years old. This your current address?" "Yes." "And you're claiming you keep your life savings in a diaper bag?" When he said it out loud, it sounded even more ridiculous than it had in her head. Maya felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. She didn't have to fake the emotion. The stress of the last 2 hours was very real. "I know it sounds crazy," she said, her voice cracking. "But my grandmother, she lived through the Depression, and she never trusted banks, and I guess I inherited that from her. I was going to deposit it today, I swear, but then I got confused at work, and I gave Mrs. Chen my bag instead of her daughter's, and now I just need it back. Please." The tears were flowing freely now. The officer looked uncomfortable, which was probably a good sign. Crying women made most cops want to resolve situations quickly. "Wait here," he said, standing up. "I'll see what I can do." He disappeared through a door behind the desk. Maya stood in the waiting area, her heart hammering. She was lying to the police. She was obstructing justice. She was aiding and abetting organized crime. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it felt strangely exhilarating. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Maya was starting to worry that they'd arrested Mrs. Chen, or worse, that they'd already counted the money and realized there was no way a daycare worker's life savings added up to $2 million. The door opened again, but it wasn't the officer who emerged. It was a woman in a crisp suit, her dark hair pulled back in a severe bun. She had the look of someone who didn't sleep much and solved problems for a living. "Miss Torres, I'm Detective Sarah Mitchell. Can you come with me, please?" Maya's blood turned to ice. "Am I in trouble?" "That depends. Come with me." She didn't have a choice. Maya followed the detective through the door, down a hallway that smelled like floor wax and institutional despair, and into a small interrogation room. It had the same beige walls and fluorescent lighting as every police station scene she'd ever seen on TV. "Sit," Detective Mitchell said, gesturing to one of 2 chairs at a small metal table. Maya sat. Her hands were shaking, so badly she had to clasp them together in her lap. The detective pulled out a notepad. "You claim the money in the bag belongs to you?" "Yes." "How much money is it?" Maya's mind raced. Too specific, and they'd know she was lying. Too vague, and they wouldn't believe her. "I'm not exactly sure. I've been saving for about 8 years. Maybe 40 or 50,000. Detective Mitchell's eyebrow rose slightly. It was the only change in her expression, but it spoke volumes. "Try 2 million, the detective said flatly. Maya let her eyes go wide. She didn't have to fake the shock. Even knowing the amount, hearing it said out loud was still stunning. That can't be right," Maya stammered. "I mean, I know I've been saving, but 2 million? That's impossible." "And yet, that's what we counted. $2 million in used bills, mostly hundreds and fifties, bundled in stacks of 10,000. All sitting in a purple diaper bag with a unicorn patch." Maya felt like she was going to throw up. This was it. They knew. They knew she was lying, and they were going to arrest her, and she was going to spend the next decade in a federal prison. I don't understand, Maya whispered. How could I have $2 million and not know it? That's what I'm trying to figure out, Miss Torres. The detective leaned forward. Because here's what doesn't make sense to me. You're a daycare teacher making $12 an hour. Your credit report shows $60,000 in student loans, $3,000 on a maxed-out credit card, and an eviction notice from 2 years ago. You're not exactly living like someone with $2 million in cash. Maya's survival instinct kicked in. If the detective had pulled her credit report, she was taking this seriously, which meant Maya needed to give her something believable. It's not all my money, Maya said suddenly, the life forming as she spoke. It's my grandmother's. She died 6 months ago and left everything to me. She didn't trust banks, kept all her money in cash hidden around her house. I've been finding it bit by bit, putting it all in one place. I was going to deposit it, but I was scared the bank would ask questions, or the IRS would want to cut, or... She trailed off, letting the detective fill in the blanks. It was actually a pretty good lie, she realized. It explained the amount, the cash, the secrecy. Detective Mitchell studied her. Your grandmother's name? Elena Torres. And she left you $2 million in cash? I didn't know it was that much. I swear. I've just been putting all the bundles in the bag without counting. I was going to count it this weekend and figure out what to do with it. Aha! The detective didn't sound convinced, but she didn't sound certain Maya was lying either. And you just happened to bring this bag full of money to work? I keep it with me. I'm scared to leave it in my apartment. That part, at least, was probably true. If Maya actually had $2 million in cash, she wouldn't leave it anywhere. Detective Mitchell made a note. We're going to need to verify your grandmother's death certificate, and we'll need to run some tests on the bills to make sure they're not counterfeit or connected to any criminal activity. Maya's heart sank. Vernon said his lawyer would handle this, but how long would that take? Hours? Days? As if summoned by her thoughts, there was a knock on the door. Another officer stuck his head in. Detective, there's a lawyer here claiming to represent Miss Torres. Detective Mitchell frowned. She didn't ask for a lawyer. He says he's here on behalf of the estate. Something about the money belonging to a trust. The detective looked at Maya. You have a lawyer? My grandmother's lawyer, Maya said quickly. He's been helping me with the estate. I called him on the way here. I was scared. It was amazing how easily the lies were coming now. Maya wondered if she should be more worried about that. Fine. Send him in. The door opened wider, and a man stepped in who looked like he'd been assembled from expensive parts. Silver hair, impeccable suit, a briefcase that probably cost more than Maya's car. He had the smooth confidence of someone who'd spent decades making problems disappear. Miss Torres, he said warmly, extending his hand. I'm Robert Carlyle. We spoke on the phone. Maya shook his hand, trying not to let her relief show too obviously. This must be Vincent's lawyer. Mr. Carlyle, she said. Thank you for coming so quickly. He turned to Detective Mitchell. I trust my client hasn't been pressured to answer questions without representation. She came in voluntarily, but now she has representation. So unless you're charging her with something, I'd like to conclude this conversation and take custody of my client and her property. The money is evidence in a potential fraud investigation. Evidence of what crime, exactly? Inheriting cash from a deceased relative isn't illegal, Detective. $2 million in cash raises questions about tax evasion, money laundering, none of which involve my client. The money belonged to Elena Torres, deceased 6 months ago, and is part of a testamentary trust that I've been administering. If you'd like to examine the trust documents, I have copies right here. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder thick with official-looking papers. Detective Mitchell took the folder and began flipping through it. Maya watched her face carefully. The detective was good, she didn't give much away. But Maya saw the tiny furrow between her eyebrows, the way her lips compressed slightly as she read. These documents were real, or at least convincing enough to pass a cursory inspection. This looks legitimate, the detective admitted reluctantly. But I'll need to verify, of course. Here's my card. You can call my office anytime. But in the meantime, Unless you have probable cause to believe the money is proceeds from a crime, I'm going to insist you release it to the trust's custody. The bills need to be tested. Then test them. We'll wait. It was a power play, and it worked. Detective Mitchell clearly didn't want to spend her Friday night babysitting a daycare teacher and a lawyer while forensics ran bills through a scanner. Fine, she said, standing abruptly. Wait here. This might take a while. She left, taking the trust documents with her. The moment the door closed, Maya turned to the lawyer. Is any of that real? Real enough, Robert said calmly. He pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. The trust exists. It was created this afternoon, funded by Mr. Moretti's personal account. If anyone digs deep enough, they'll find it was established in your grandmother's name 6 months ago, with you as the sole beneficiary. My grandmother isn't even dead. She is now. Died peacefully in her sleep in Phoenix, Arizona, where she'd retired. All the paperwork is filed with the county. By Monday, there will be an obituary in the local paper. Maya stared at him. You created an entire fake dead person in 3 hours. I've been doing this for 30 years, Miss Torres. This is hardly the most complicated estate I've managed. He said it so matter-of-factly that Maya almost laughed. Is Mr. Moretti here? Nearby. He's waiting to make sure you're safe. Something about that made Maya's chest tighten. He was waiting. Not for the money. His lawyer had that under control. For her. What happens now? Maya asked. Now we wait for them to test the bills. When they come back clean, they'll release the bag to the trust, which I'll transport to Mr. Moretti. You'll go home, get a good night's sleep, and on Monday morning you'll find that your student loans have been mysteriously paid off. Maya's breath caught. What? Consider it a bonus for your trouble. Plus the playground equipment, of course. I didn't ask for. No, you didn't. Which is why Mr. Moretti wants to do it. He takes care of people who help him, Miss Torres. It's one of the reasons his organization is still standing after 3 generations. The casual acknowledgement of a criminal organization made Maya's head spin. This was her life now, apparently. Sitting in a police station with a mob lawyer discussing estate fraud like it was a normal Friday evening. 2 hours later, Maya was finally allowed to leave. The bills had tested clean. Of course they had. They were probably Vincent's own money, freshly laundered through some legitimate business. Detective Mitchell had looked frustrated, but had no grounds to hold either Maya or the bag. Robert Carlyle had swept out with the money, leaving Maya with his business card and strict instructions to call him if the police contacted her again. Maya walked to her car in a daze. The snow was falling harder now, thick flakes that caught in her hair and melted against her skin. She felt like she lived a week in the last 6 hours. Her phone buzzed. Vincent. You did well. She typed back. I lied to the police. I'm an accessory to whatever this is. You protected yourself. That's all you did. Is Mrs. Chin okay? She's fine. Robert convinced her that it was all a misunderstanding, that the trust documents proved the money was legitimate. She's probably home by now, putting her daughter to bed and trying to forget this ever happened. Maya leaned against her car, tilting her face up to the falling snow. I can't believe that worked. I told you. I've been doing this a long time. Is the money where it needs to be? It will be. The exchange happens in an hour. After that, this is over. You can go back to your normal life. Maya thought about her normal life. The tiny apartment, the debt, the job that paid barely enough to survive, the careful budgeting, the skipped meals, the constant low-level anxiety about money. What if I don't want to? She found herself typing. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, don't want to what? Go back to normal. This time, the pause was longer. Maya held her breath, wondering if she just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Her phone rang instead of buzzing with a text. She answered. What are you saying, Maya? Vincent's voice was careful, controlled. I'm saying that in the last 6 hours, I felt more alive than I have in 6 years. I'm saying that I'm tired of being safe and broke and invisible. I'm saying. She trailed off, not sure how to finish. You're in shock, Vincent said gently. You've had a traumatic day. Go home, get some sleep. We can talk about this later. Don't patronize me. I'm not some naive child who doesn't understand what she's saying. I know exactly what you are, Maya. You're a good person who made a mistake and got pulled into something dangerous. Don't let one night of adrenaline convince you that this life is something you want. Why not? You have a son. You live in a nice house, I assume. You provide for your family. Why can't I want the same things? Because I pay for those things with blood, Maya. Mine and other people's. You're a teacher. You save children. Don't throw that away to play gangster. The bluntness of it stung. I'm not playing anything. Then what are you doing? Maya closed her eyes. What was she doing? She'd helped cover up a crime. She'd lied to the police. She'd put herself in danger for a man she barely knew. And she'd never felt more certain of anything in her life. I'm saying thank you, she said finally, for protecting me, for keeping your word. And I'm saying that if you ever need help again, you know where to find me. Vincent was quiet for so long that Maya thought he'd hung up. Then, you don't know what you're offering. Then tell me. Explain it to me like I'm one of your 3-year-olds. What exactly am I getting into? Danger, fear, constant looking over your shoulder, lying to everyone you know, living 2 lives and never being able to fully commit to either one. Sounds like being poor with extra steps. Vincent actually laughed, a short, surprised bark of sound. You're serious. I'm completely serious. I've been good my whole life, Vincent. I did everything right. Studied hard, got good grades, went to college, got my degree. And where did it get me? $60,000 in debt and a studio apartment with a broken radiator. Maybe it's time to try doing something wrong. This isn't about right and wrong. It's about surviving. Then help me survive better than I have been. Another long pause. Maya could almost hear him thinking, weighing, calculating. I need to make a delivery, he said finally. After that, I'm going home to put Dante to bed. Tomorrow is Saturday. I don't work on Saturdays. I spend the day with my son. Okay, but tomorrow night, after he's asleep, we can talk. Really talk. About what this life actually means, what it costs, what it requires. And then you can decide if you still want in. Maya's heart was racing. Tomorrow night. I'll send you an address. Be there at 9 p.m. I'll be there. Maya. Yeah. Thank you. For tonight. You save more than just money. You saved my life. Then I guess you owe me twice. She could hear the smile in his voice. I guess I do. The line went dead. Maya stood in the parking lot of the police station, snow gathering on her shoulders, and realized she was smiling. Tomorrow night, her life was going to change. She could feel it with absolute certainty. She just hoped she survived it. The Saturday morning sun came through Maya's window like an accusation, bright and relentless. She woke up with her phone clutched in her hand, the screen showing her text thread with Vincent Moretti. In the harsh light of day, last night felt like a fever dream. Except her student loan account, which she checked obsessively every morning like some people check the weather, now showed a balance of $0. Maya stared at the screen, refreshed it, stared again. $0. $60,000 of debt, accumulated over 4 years of optimistic belief in the American dream, erased overnight like it had never existed. She should have felt relief, joy, freedom. Instead, she felt the weight of the chain she just wrapped around her own neck. This wasn't a gift. This was a down payment. Vincent Moretti had just bought a piece of her, and they both knew it. Her phone buzzed with a new message. Not from Vincent, from Jennifer, the head teacher at Little Stars. Emergency staff meeting Monday, 8 a.m. Don't be late. Maya's stomach dropped. Did they know? Had someone connected her to the incident at the police station? She typed back. Everything okay? 3 dots appeared, then. Just routine stuff. See you Monday. Routine staff meetings didn't happen on emergency notice. Something was wrong. Maya dragged herself out of bed and went through the motions of her Saturday routine. Coffee, shower, the crossword puzzle she never finished. But her mind wasn't present. It was already at 9 p.m., already stepping into whatever world Vincent was going to show her. She tried to distract herself with errands, grocery shopping at the discount store where she knew every sale by heart, laundry in the building's basement machines that ate quarters like a gambling addiction. Normal things, safe things, but everything felt different now. The elderly woman counting change at the checkout. Had she ever made a choice that changed her entire life? The college student hauling detergent down the stairs. Did he understand how fragile the path to a normal life really was? Maya had always thought of herself as someone who played by the rules. She voted in every election. She recycled. She reported her tips on her taxes, all $3 of them. She was good, and good had gotten her nowhere. By 8 p.m., Maya was standing in front of her closet, which was less a closet and more a vertical filing system for clothes she'd owned since college. What did you wear to meet a mob boss for a conversation about joining his organization? Business casual seemed wrong. Too casual seemed disrespectful. Too dressy seemed like she was trying too hard. She settled on dark jeans, a black sweater, and the leather jacket she bought at a thrift store 3 years ago. It was trying to look tougher than she felt, but at least it was trying. The address Vincent had sent was in Lincoln Park, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Chicago. The kind of place where Maya had once attended a birthday party for a college friend and spent the entire time feeling like an imposter. Old money lived here. New money aspired to live here. People like Maya didn't even drive through here unless they were lost. She parked her Honda Civic on the street, feeling like her car might actually lower the property values just by existing in proximity to the mansion she was approaching. It wasn't the biggest house on the block. That honor went to a literal castle 3 doors down, but it was stunning. 3 stories of red brick and white trim, with a front yard that probably required a full-time gardener. This was where Vincent Moretti lived, where he raised a son, where he came home after delivering bags full of money to dangerous people. Maya walked up the front steps, her heart hammering. Before she could knock, the door opened. Vincent stood there, and the sight of him made Maya's breath catch. He wasn't wearing a suit tonight. He was in dark slacks and a gray sweater that somehow made him look both more approachable and more dangerous. His hair was slightly disheveled, like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked tired. He looked human. "You came," he said, and there was something in his voice that suggested he hadn't been entirely certain she would. "I said I would. People say a lot of things." He stepped back, holding the door open. "Come in." Maya walked into a world she'd only seen in magazines. The entryway had marble floors, a chandelier that probably cost more than her car, and art on the walls that looked like it belonged in a museum. But there were also toys scattered near the stairs, a fire truck, some building blocks, a stuffed elephant missing one ear. The contrast was jarring. Wealth and childhood, danger and domesticity, all existing in the same space. "Dante's asleep?" Maya asked. Finally, he was wired tonight. Too much sugar at his grandmother's house. Vincent led her through the foyer into a living room that managed to be both elegant and lived in. Expensive furniture, but also crayon marks on one wall that hadn't been completely cleaned off. "Can I get you something to drink?" "Coffee." "Wine." "Something stronger." "Wine sounds good." He disappeared into what Maya assumed was the kitchen, leaving her alone in the living room. She walked slowly around the space, examining it like an archaeologist studying an ancient civilization. Family photos on the mantel, Vincent and Dante at the beach, at a park, at what looked like a birthday party. A woman appeared in some of the older photos, beautiful and smiling. She was holding a much younger Dante. Dante's mother, who wasn't in any of the recent photos. "She died 2 years ago," Vincent said from behind her. Maya jumped, not having heard him return. He handed her a glass of red wine. "Cancer." It was fast. "I'm sorry." "So am I." He took a sip of his own wine, staring at the photos. "She knew what I was, what my family did. She married me anyway, said she could handle it." He turned to look at Maya. She was wrong. The cancer wasn't caused by my work, but the stress didn't help. The fear every time I left the house. The wondering if I'd come back. The lying to her friends about what I did for a living. It wore her down. He set his glass on the coffee table. "I tell you this because you need to understand what you're asking for. This life doesn't just affect you. It affects everyone around you." Maya took a large sip of wine for courage. "You said we'd talk. Really talk. So talk. Explain it to me like I'm actually capable of understanding the choice I'm making." Vincent studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Sit." They sat on opposite ends of an expensive leather couch. Vincent leaned back, his body language deceptively relaxed, but Maya could see the tension in his shoulders. My family has been in this business for 3 generations, he began. My grandfather came over from Sicily in 1946 with nothing but the clothes on his back and a willingness to do what other men wouldn't. He built an organization that controlled the docks, the unions, the gambling, the girls. Everything that made money, we had a piece of. Past tense. Things change. The old ways don't work anymore. Too much surveillance, too many federal task forces, too much attention. My father understood that. Before he died, he started transitioning us into legitimate businesses. Import-export, construction, real estate. We still have the old connections, still do the occasional job that requires discretion, but mostly we've gone legit. Except for the $2 million in cash you had to deliver last night. Vincent's lips quirked. Except for that, there are still obligations from the old days. Debts that need to be paid both ways. That money was settling an account with a family in New York. Payment for a service they provided 5 years ago. What kind of service? The kind you don't ask about. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. And if I work for you, I'd be involved in things like that? No. If you work for me, you'd be doing exactly what you do now. Teaching. Caring for children. Being normal. He leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. I need someone I can trust inside that daycare. Someone who can keep an eye on Dante, make sure he's safe, let me know if anything seems off. You want me to spy on my own workplace? I want you to protect my son. There are people who would hurt him to get to me. People who wouldn't hesitate to snatch him from a playground or poison his lunch. I have security at the daycare. Did you notice the new landscaper who started 2 weeks ago? Maya blinked. Mr. Patterson, former Marine, expert marksman, has a concealed carry permit and is authorized to use lethal force if Dante is threatened. But he can't be inside. He can't watch what the teachers are feeding him, who's coming and going, whether someone on the staff might be compromised. You think someone at Little Stars would hurt a child? I think people can be bought, Maya. Everyone has a price. I need someone inside who's already been paid, who has more to lose by betraying me than by staying loyal. The bluntness of it was almost refreshing. So I'm just another employee, another person you bought. No. Vincent's voice was firm. Employees follow orders without question. I'm offering you a partnership. You keep my son safe, you tell me if anything concerns you, and in exchange, I make sure you never have to worry about money again. Your debt is gone. You'll get a raise, a significant one, paid through a foundation grant to the daycare so it doesn't raise suspicion. You want to go back to school? I'll pay for it. You want to move to a better apartment? I'll co-sign the lease. And if I want out, then you walk away. I'm not holding you hostage, Maya. But you need to understand that once you're in, once you know what you know, leaving isn't as simple as quitting a job. You'll know things about my organization, about my vulnerabilities. I'd need assurances that you wouldn't talk. What kind of assurances? Vincent's expression darkened. The legal kind, preferably. A contract with a very aggressive non-disclosure agreement. But there are other methods if necessary. You'd threaten me. I'd protect myself and my son. Don't mistake my honesty for weakness, Maya. I'm telling you these things because I respect you enough to be straight with you. But make no mistake, if you betray me, there will be consequences. Maya should have been terrified. She should have stood up, walked out, maybe even called the police again. Instead, she felt a strange sense of clarity. You're honest, she said. That's more than most people I know. In my line of work, lies get you killed. I save them for people who aren't already inside. And I'm inside now. You've been inside since you handed that bag to Mrs. Chun. Everything after that has just been negotiating the terms. Maya took another sip of wine. Her second glass was somehow already empty. Vincent refilled it without asking. Tell me about the people who would hurt Dante, she said. I need to know what I'm protecting him from. Vincent's jaw tightened. There are 3 main threats. First, the Castellanos, old rivals from my father's generation. They've been quiet lately, but that doesn't mean they've forgotten. They'd love to hit me where it hurts. Second, the Russians. They've been moving into Chicago over the last decade, trying to take territory that used to be ours. They don't respect the old boundaries, don't care about civilian casualties. A child would just be collateral damage to them. And third, Vincent was quiet for a moment. The feds. They've been trying to build a case against my family for years. They haven't been able to make anything stick because we're careful. But if they could pressure me by threatening Dante's custody, claiming I'm an unfit father because of my associations. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. How long have you been doing this? Maya asked. Running the organization. Since I was 23. My father had a heart attack. Died instantly. I was in college, studying business, trying to convince myself I could have a normal life. He laughed bitterly. That lasted about 48 hours. Then the vultures started circling, and I had to choose between watching everything my family built fall apart or stepping up. Did you want to step up? Want had nothing to do with it. I had a responsibility, a legacy, people depending on me. He looked at the photos on the mantel again. And later, I had a son who deserved to inherit something more than blood and violence. Is that possible? Building something legitimate from something criminal? I don't know. I'm trying. He turned back to her. That's the real reason I need you, Maya. Not just to protect Dante, but to help me prove that he can have a normal childhood. That he can go to a normal daycare, have normal friends, grow up without the weight of this life crushing him the way it crushed me. The vulnerability in his voice was unexpected. This wasn't the cold, threatening man from the daycare. This was a father who was terrified of failing his son. I'll do it, Maya said. Vincent's eyes sharpened. You're sure? Once you commit, I'm sure. But I have conditions. Name them. First, I want to know everything that affects Dante's safety. If there's a threat, you tell me immediately. I can't protect him if I'm operating blind. Agreed. Second, I won't do anything illegal. I'll watch, I'll report, I'll keep him safe. But I'm not carrying weapons, I'm not delivering messages, I'm not lying to federal agents. The non-disclosure agreement might be considered obstruction. Then I won't sign it. You'll have to trust me the old-fashioned way. Vincent actually smiled. You're negotiating with a crime boss. You told me to think of this as a partnership. Partners negotiate. Fair enough. What else? If I see something at the daycare that concerns me, not about Dante, about any child, I'm reporting it. I'm not letting a kid get hurt because of your business. I wouldn't ask you to. Anything else? Maya hesitated then. I want to understand your world. Really understand it. Not just the threats and the violence, but how it works. Why people choose this life. What keeps them in it. Why? Because if I'm going to be part of it, even peripherally, I need to understand what I'm part of. Otherwise, I'm just another pawn who doesn't see the whole board. Vincent studied her for a long moment. Then he stood up, walked to a bookshelf, and pulled out a thick leather-bound photo album. He brought it back to the couch and opened it. This is my grandfather, he said, pointing to a black-and-white photo of a stern-looking man in a suit. Antonio Moretti. He came to America with nothing. Worked on the docks 14 hours a day. Watched the bosses steal from the workers. Watched the police look the other way because they were being paid to. So he organized. He convinced the dock workers to stand together, to demand fair pay. And when the bosses refused, he made them understand that some demands aren't requests. He turned the page. More photos. Men in suits, women in elegant dresses, children playing in streets that looked both familiar and foreign. He built an empire, but not just for himself. He made sure the neighborhood was safe. Made sure the stores paid protection, but actually got protected. Made sure the cops who were on the take at least directed there. Corruption toward keeping peace. Vincent's finger traced one of the photos. It wasn't legal, but it wasn't evil either. It was survival in a system that was designed to keep people like us down. And your father? Vincent turned more pages. My father understood that the world was changing, that the old ways would get everyone killed or imprisoned. He started investing in legitimate businesses, cleaning up the family's reputation. But he couldn't completely walk away. Too many obligations. Too many people depending on the organization for protection, for jobs, for help when the legal system failed them. He closed the album. I'm finishing what he started. In another generation, maybe two, the Moretti family will be completely legitimate. Dante will inherit a business empire, not a criminal organization. But right now, we're in transition. And that makes us vulnerable. To people like the Castellanos and the Russians. Exactly. They see weakness when we try to go straight. They think they can move in, take what's ours. So I have to maintain enough strength to protect what we're building while also building something worth protecting. Maya absorbed this, turning it over in her mind. It wasn't the story she'd expected. She thought crime families were simply greedy, violent, parasitic. But this was more complicated. It was about community, about protection, about navigating a system that had never been designed to let certain people succeed. Tell me about Dante's mother, Maya said. How did she handle all of this? Pain flickered across Vincent's face. She tried. God, she tried so hard. Maria was a teacher, actually. Elementary school. We met at a charity event my father hosted. She was there representing her school, asking for donations. A teacher married to a mob boss. That must have been complicated. She thought she could compartmentalize it. Be Mrs. Moretti at home, Ms. Rodriguez at school. It worked for a while. But then Dante was born, and suddenly the stakes were different. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about protecting him. What changed? There was an incident. Dante was about 6 months old. Someone tried to use him as leverage against me. They didn't get far. My security stopped it before it became serious. But Maria never recovered from the fear. She couldn't sleep, couldn't relax. Every stranger was a threat. Every car that drove by the house was a potential assassin. Vincent's voice was rough now, heavy with old pain. I tried to convince her to leave, to take Dante somewhere safe. But she said she loved me, that we'd figure it out together. Then she got sick, and he didn't finish. He didn't need to. I'm sorry, Maya said softly. If you're hooked on the story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Me too. Every day. He looked at her. That's why I need someone I can trust with Dante. Someone who understands what's at stake, but isn't paralyzed by fear. Someone strong enough to do what needs to be done. You think I'm that person? You walked into a police station and lied to a detective to protect yourself and fix a stranger's problem. You negotiated with me instead of running away. You're asking hard questions instead of accepting easy answers. He leaned closer. Yeah, Maya, I think you're that person. The intensity in his eyes was almost overwhelming. Maya felt heat rising in her cheeks. What happens now? She asked. Now we make this official. I'll have Robert draw up the contract. Just employment terms, compensation. Nothing about NDAs if you don't want them. You start getting your increased pay through the foundation grant. And you keep doing exactly what you've been doing at the daycare. Except now you're also watching for anything unusual. What counts as unusual? New people hanging around the building. Parents who seem too interested in Dante specifically. Teachers asking questions about pickup times or my schedule. Anything that feels off. And if I notice something, you text me immediately. This number. He pulled out a different phone than the one he'd been using. A basic flip phone that looked like it was from 2005. This is a burner. Untraceable. Use it only for messages about Dante's security. Maya took the phone, feeling the weight of it. This was real. This was actually happening. I should go, she said, standing up. The wine had gone to her head slightly, making the room tilt. It's late, and I have a lot to process. Vincent stood as well. Let me drive you. You shouldn't be behind the wheel right now. I'm fine, Maya. His voice was gentle but firm. Let me take care of this. My driver will take you home, bring your car by in the morning. She wanted to argue, to insist on her independence. But the truth was, she was exhausted and slightly drunk and processing more information than her brain could handle. Okay, she agreed. Vincent walked her to the door, then surprised her by grabbing a coat from the closet. I'll ride with you. Make sure you get home safe. You don't have to. I want to. The drive to Maya's apartment was quiet. Vincent sat beside her in the back of a sleek black sedan driven by a silent man who didn't react when Vincent gave Maya's address. They'd clearly done this before, driven people home, made sure they arrived safely. Maya watched the city pass by outside the window. Chicago at night was beautiful, all lights and shadows and endless possibility. She'd lived here her whole life, but had never really seen it the way she was seeing it now. Every corner could hide a threat. Every person could be an enemy or an ally. What are you thinking? Vincent asked. That I'm either making the smartest decision of my life or the stupidest. Probably both. She looked at him. In the dim light from passing streetlights, his face was all angles and shadows. Dangerous and beautiful in equal measure. Why me? She asked. Really? You could have anyone watching Dante. Why a broke daycare teacher you barely know? Vincent was quiet for a moment. Do you remember the first day I came to tour the daycare? Vaguely. Dante was having a meltdown. He didn't want to be left somewhere new, didn't trust that I'd come back. All the other teachers tried to calm him down with toys, with promises, with distraction. You know what you did? Maya tried to remember. That had been weeks ago, dozens of crying children ago. You sat down on the floor next to him, Vincent continued. You didn't try to touch him or force him to stop crying. You just sat there and told him a story about a little boy who was scared of new places but found out they could be wonderful. You didn't treat him like a problem to be solved. You treated him like a person with valid feelings. That's just good teaching practice. Maybe. But you also noticed that he kept touching his left ear when he was stressed. And you figured out that it soothed him to have something soft to hold. In that hand. So you gave him that stuffed elephant, the one with the missing ear. Maya remembered now. Dante had latched onto that toy immediately, had carried it everywhere for days. You see people, Maya. Really see them. That's rare. And it's exactly what I need. The car pulled up in front of Maya's building. The driver put it in park but didn't turn off the engine. Thank you, Maya said, for being honest with me, for trusting me with this. Thank you for saying yes. Vincent reached into his coat and pulled out an envelope. Your first month's pay. Cash. Until the foundation grant gets set up properly. Maya took the envelope, felt the weight of it. She didn't open it, didn't want to count money in front of him like some kind of mercenary. But she could tell it was substantial. Get some sleep, Vincent said. Monday will come fast. Maya opened the car door, then paused. Vincent, what happened to the people who tried to use Dante as leverage? His expression went cold. They learned that some mistakes don't deserve second chances. The chill in his voice sent a shiver down Maya's spine. This was the other side of the man who loved his son, who had gently explained his family's history, who had made sure she got home safely. This was the side that eliminated threats. Good, Maya heard herself say. They deserved it. Vincent's expression softened slightly. Go inside, Maya. Lock your door. Tomorrow is a new day. She climbed out of the car and watched it pull away, taillights disappearing into the Chicago night. Then she trudged up the 4 flights to her apartment, unlocked the door, and collapsed onto her futon. Only then did she open the envelope. $20,000 in $100 bills. Maya stared at the money, then at her apartment. The cracked ceiling. The radiator that clanked. The window that didn't quite close. She could fix all of that now. She could move somewhere better. She could buy new clothes. Eat something other than ramen and day-old bread. She could be someone other than the broke girl who'd given up on her dreams. But at what cost? Maya tucked the money under her mattress. She'd deposit most of it on Monday, keep some cash for emergencies, and lay back down. Sleep didn't come easily. Her mind was racing with everything Vincent had told her, everything she'd agreed to. She crossed a line tonight. There was no going back. But as she finally drifted off, she realized she didn't want to go back. For the first time in years, she was moving forward. Monday morning arrived with all the subtlety of a hangover and the inevitability of taxes. Maya dragged herself out of bed at 6 a.m., showered in the rust-stained tub, and got dressed in her usual work clothes. Except they didn't feel usual anymore. She felt like she was wearing a costume, playing the part of the person she used to be. The emergency staff meeting started at 8 sharp. All the teachers were crammed into Jennifer's small office, sitting on folding chairs or leaning against walls. The atmosphere was tense. Jennifer stood at her desk, looking more stressed than Maya had ever seen her. Her usually perfect hair was slightly disheveled, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Thank you all for coming on short notice, Jennifer began. I'm going to be direct because there's no point in sugarcoating this. We had a visit from Child Protective Services on Friday afternoon. A collective gasp went through the room. Maya felt her stomach drop. They received an anonymous complaint about inadequate supervision and safety protocols. They did a full inspection of the facility, reviewed our records, interviewed staff. Jennifer's voice was shaking slightly. They found several violations. Nothing major, but enough to put us on a corrective action plan. What kind of violations? Asked Sarah, one of the other teachers. Inadequate documentation of incident reports. Expired fire extinguisher in the storage room. Missing background check for one of our substitute teachers. Jennifer looked around the room. They also expressed concern about some of our security measures, specifically related to pickup procedures. Maya's heart was pounding. Was this about Friday? About the bag mix-up? Going forward, we're implementing new protocols, Jennifer continued. Every parent or guardian must show ID at pickup, even if we know them. Every bag must be checked and signed for. Every incident, no matter how minor, must be documented in writing within 24 hours. That's going to add at least an hour to our daily work, someone protested. I know, but it's not optional. If we don't comply with the corrective action plan, we could lose our license. Jennifer's voice cracked. I've been running this daycare for 15 years. I'm not going to lose it because we got sloppy. The meeting continued for another 30 minutes, with Jennifer outlining the new procedures in exhausting detail. By the time they were dismissed, Maya felt like she'd aged a year. She caught up with Jennifer as the other teachers filed out. Can I ask you something? Jennifer looked exhausted. Sure. The anonymous complaint. Do they usually tell you who filed it? No. That's the point of anonymous. Jennifer's eyes sharpened. Why? Do you know something? No. Friday was chaotic. The bag mix-up with Mrs. Chun. I've been worried that maybe I messed up worse than I thought. Jennifer's expression softened. Maya, that kind of thing happens. It's not ideal, but it's not a CPS-worthy violation. This complaint was more systematic, like someone was looking for things to report. Like someone who wanted to send a message, Maya thought. Or test our security. Okay, Maya said. Thanks. She spent the rest of the day on high alert, watching everything and everyone with new eyes. The parents picking up their kids. Were any of them watching too closely? The delivery person who brought supplies. Had she seen him before? Even her fellow teachers suddenly seemed potentially suspicious. This was what Vincent had meant. Once you knew to look for threats, you saw them everywhere. Dante was dropped off at 8:30 by a woman Maya didn't recognize. Not Vincent, a grandmother type with silver hair and kind eyes. She chatted pleasantly with Jennifer while Dante ran to the toy corner, apparently unfazed by the change in routine. Maya knelt beside him. Hey, buddy, your grandma brought you today. Dante nodded, already absorbed in building something with blocks. Nana Maria. Papa had a meeting. Cool. You want to show me what you're building? For the next few hours, Maya divided her attention between her teaching duties and subtle observation. She noted which parents seemed rushed, which ones asked questions, which ones lingered. She paid attention to the neighborhood, the same cars parked across the street, any new pedestrians walking by repeatedly. Nothing seemed obviously wrong, but she took mental notes anyway. At noon, her phone buzzed. The burner. Phone Vincent had given her. Status report. Maya stepped into the bathroom to text back. All clear. CPS visited Friday. New security protocols in place. Might make our communication harder. Understood. Stay alert. Simple, efficient, professional. This was her job now. The afternoon passed without incident. At 6 p.m. sharp, Vincent arrived to pick up Dante. He was back in his suit, all business, but his eyes found Maya's across the room. A brief moment of connection, of understanding. She was part of his world now, for better or worse. Mr. Moretti, Jennifer called out, approaching him with a clipboard. I need to see your ID for pickup, please. New security protocol. Vincent didn't even blink. He pulled out his driver's license and handed it over. Jennifer checked it against her records, made a note, and handed it back. And I need you to sign here confirming Dante's belongings. Vincent signed, collected Dante, who ran to him with a happy cry of Papa, and left without looking back at Maya. But as he walked out the door, Maya saw him pull out his phone. 30 seconds later, her burner buzzed. Well done. You're already earning your pay. Maya deleted the message immediately, like Vincent had instructed her to do with all communications. This was her life now. Teacher by day, informant by night. Normal on the surface, complicated underneath. She should have felt guilty. Should have felt like a traitor to her workplace, to the innocent world of childhood education. Instead, she felt alive. 3 weeks passed in a strange new rhythm. Maya taught children their ABCs and watched for threats. She changed diapers and sent encrypted status reports. She read picture books and memorized license plates. The money from Vincent accumulated. The foundation grant came through, giving her an extra $1,000 a month through official channels. The cash payments continued on the side, always in unmarked envelopes left in her car or slipped into her bag when she wasn't looking. She paid off her credit card, fixed the window in her apartment, bought groceries without checking prices, small luxuries that felt enormous. And she watched Dante. The boy was remarkable. Quiet, observant, occasionally showing flashes of stubborn independence that reminded her exactly whose son he was. He didn't talk about his mother, but sometimes Maya caught him staring at other kids' moms with an expression that broke her heart. She made sure he got extra attention, extra patience, extra everything she could give him without making it obvious that she was treating him differently. On a Friday afternoon, 3 weeks into her new arrangement, something finally happened. A man came to pick up one of the other children, Aiden Patterson, whose mother usually did pickup. The man had ID, was on the approved list, everything checked out. But something about him made Maya's instincts ping. He was too observant. His eyes tracked the room, noted the exits, counted the teachers. Professional awareness, like Vincent's security team. And he asked too many questions. What time does the daycare close? Do you always have the same teachers in the afternoon? I noticed there's a security camera at the front. Are there others? Jennifer answered politely, not seeming to notice anything unusual. But Maya noticed, and she made mental notes. After he left with Aiden, Maya casually checked the records. Listed as Marcus Patterson, uncle, approved for emergency pickup. Nothing suspicious on paper. But her gut said otherwise. She waited until she was alone in the bathroom, then pulled out the burner phone. Unknown man picked up Aiden Patterson today. On approved list, but asked unusual questions about security. Maybe nothing but felt wrong. Vincent's response was immediate. Description: 6 feet, athletic build, brown hair, military bearing. Asked about cameras, closing time, staff schedules. Did he interact with Dante? No. Didn't even look at him. Could be reconnaissance. Stay alert. We'll investigate. Maya deleted the exchange and went back to work, but her nerves were jangling. That evening, as she was locking up the daycare, a car pulled up. Not Vincent's usual sedan, a different vehicle unmarked. The driver's window rolled down. Miss Torres, get in please. Maya recognized the voice. Robert Carlyle, Vincent's lawyer. Her heart started pounding. Is everything okay? Is Dante? Dante's fine. But Mr. Moretti needs to speak with you. It's urgent. Maya looked around. The street was empty, twilight settling over the neighborhood. Every instinct told her that getting into a car with a mobster's lawyer was a terrible idea. She got in anyway. They drove in silence through streets Maya didn't recognize. Not toward Vincent's house in Lincoln Park, somewhere else. Somewhere in the industrial district near the river. Where are we going? Maya asked. Somewhere private, Robert said. Mr. Moretti needs your help with something sensitive. What kind of help? He'll explain. They pulled up to a warehouse that looked abandoned. Graffiti covered the walls. Windows were broken. Weeds grew through cracks in the parking lot. But there were new-looking locks on the doors, and as Robert led her inside, Maya realized the decay was cosmetic. Inside was clean, modern, functional. Vincent was waiting in what looked like an office space. He was pacing, his phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian to someone. When he saw Maya, he ended the call abruptly. Thank you for coming. Did I have a choice? Yes. You always have a choice. He gestured to a chair. Sit, please. Maya sat, her pulse racing. What's going on? Robert said it was urgent. The man you reported today, Marcus Patterson. Vincent pulled up a photo on his tablet and showed it to her. Is this him? Maya studied the image. Same build, same military bearing, but the photo showed him in what looked like tactical gear. Yes. That's him. His real name is Marcus Webb, former Marine, dishonorably discharged for selling weapons on the black market. He's been working freelance for the last 5 years, mostly surveillance and intimidation. Vincent's voice was tight with controlled anger. He doesn't have a nephew named Aiden. The woman who enrolled that child is an actress paid to create a cover story. Maya's blood ran cold. They planted a fake kid in our daycare. To get close to Dante. To study our security, our patterns, our vulnerabilities. Vincent set down the tablet. Thanks to your report, we caught this before anything happened. But now we have a different problem. What problem? We need to know who hired Webb, which family is making a move. And that means... He trailed off, looking uncomfortable. Means what? It means I need to ask him some questions. And I'm going to use methods that aren't legal or pleasant. Vincent looked at her directly. You can leave right now. Robert will drive you home. You don't need to be part of this. But I wanted you to know, to understand the consequences of the information you provided. Maya's mind was racing. Where is he? Webb. Vincent pointed to a door at the back of the office. In there. Secured. Is he hurt? Not yet. Maya stood up. Every rational part of her brain was screaming at her to leave, to run, to call the police. This was torture. This was illegal. This was crossing a line she could never uncross. But she thought about Dante. Sweet, quiet Dante who loved his stuffed elephant and building with blocks. Dante, who some mercenary had been studying, gathering intelligence on, preparing to hurt. I want to see him, Maya said. Vincent's eyes widened. Maya, you don't. I want to see the man who was planning to hurt a 3-year-old child. I want to look him in the eye. Vincent studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but you don't touch anything. You don't say anything. You just look. Understood? Understood. He led her to the door, unlocked it, and stepped inside. Maya followed. Marcus Webb was zip-tied to a metal chair in the center of a stark concrete room. His face was bruised. Someone had already started working on him. He looked up when they entered, his eyes sharp despite the pain. Who's this? He asked, looking at Maya. Your girlfriend. You bringing dates to your torture sessions now, Moretti? Shut up, Vincent said calmly. Maya, this is the man who was going to kidnap Dante. Take a good look. Maya walked closer, studying Webb's face. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like a regular guy, maybe someone you'd see at the gym or the grocery store. Why? She asked, the word escaping before she could stop it. Webb laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Why do you think? Money. Nothing personal, lady. Just a job. A job to hurt a child. A job to leverage an asset. The kid wouldn't have been hurt if Daddy cooperated. Maya felt rage flood through her, hot and overwhelming. She stepped forward, and before Vincent could stop her, she slapped Webb across the face. Hard. The room went silent. Webb's head had snapped to the side from the impact. He slowly turned back, blood trickling from his split lip, and smiled. There it is, he said softly. There's the real you. Guess you're not just a teacher after all. Maya's hand was stinging. She was shaking. She'd never hit anyone in her life. Vincent's hand closed gently on her shoulder. Maya, outside. Now. She let him guide her out of the room, back into the office. The door closed behind them, muffling any sound from inside. I'm sorry, Maya said, her voice shaking. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize. Vincent's voice was quiet. He deserved worse than that. But you need to leave now, before this goes further. You shouldn't see what happens next. Will you kill him? Probably not. But I'll make him wish I had. Maya looked at the closed door, at the man on the other side who had been planning to destroy a child's life for money. She thought about Dante's smile, his gentle nature, his trust. Make him talk, she said. Find out who sent him. And make sure he never comes near another child again. Vincent's expression was unreadable. You're sure you're okay with this? I'm not okay with any of this. But I'm okay with protecting Dante. Whatever that takes. He studied her face, and something in his expression shifted. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. I'll take you home. No. I can get an Uber. Maya, I need to process this alone, Vincent. Please. He nodded slowly. Robert will wait with you until your ride arrives. Don't go anywhere else tonight. Go straight home, lock your door. I know the drill. She turned to leave, but Vincent caught her hand. His touch was warm, firm. Thank you, he said quietly, for reporting what you saw. You might have saved my son's life. Maya squeezed his hand briefly, then pulled away. She didn't trust herself to speak. 20 minutes later, she was in the back of an Uber, watching the warehouse disappear in the rearview mirror. Her hand still stung from the slap. Her heart still raced from the confrontation. She'd just been an accessory to torture. She'd struck a restrained man. She'd crossed lines she didn't even know existed 3 weeks ago. And the worst part, she didn't regret it. Maya Torres, teacher of small children, reader of board books, believer in gold stars and gentle redirection, had discovered she was capable of violence. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like coming home. 6 months had passed since that night in the warehouse. Maya's world had transformed in ways she never imagined. She stood in Vincent's kitchen now, not as an employee or informant, but as something far more complicated. Dante sat at the table, carefully coloring a picture of his family, 3 stick figures labeled Papa, Maya, and me. Look, he said proudly, holding it up. It's us. Maya's throat tightened. Somewhere along the way, between security reports and late-night conversations with Vincent, between protecting Dante and falling into this dangerous life, she'd become part of their family. Vincent entered, loosening his tie. He looked exhausted. The Castellano situation had escalated, requiring his constant attention. But when he saw Dante's drawing, he smiled. That's beautiful, buddy. Maya says I can hang it on the fridge. Then that's where it goes. Vincent's eyes met Maya's over Dante's head. The heat in his gaze made her breath catch. After Dante went to bed, they sat on the couch with wine, the comfortable silence of 2 people who'd seen each other's darkness and stayed anyway. I got an offer today, Maya said quietly. A real teaching position. Better school, better pay, completely legitimate. Vincent went still. You're leaving. I should. This life, Vincent, what we're doing, it's not sustainable. Eventually, someone's going to get hurt. Is that what you want? To go back to normal? Maya thought about her old life. The safety, the simplicity, the suffocating mediocrity of it all. Then she thought about Dante's laugh, Vincent's rare smiles, the way she'd learned to navigate 2 worlds. No, she admitted. I want this. I want you. I want him. I want all of it, even the dangerous parts. Vincent pulled her close, his kiss urgent and claiming. Then stay. Be part of this family. Help me build something better. I'm terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. He rested his forehead against hers. I love you, Maya Torres. I love that you're strong enough to slap a mercenary and gentle enough to read bedtime stories. I love that you chose this life, knowing exactly what it costs. I love you too, Maya whispered. God help me, I do. Upstairs, Dante slept peacefully, protected by a teacher who'd become a mother and a crime boss who'd become a father again. The life they were building was dangerous, complicated, and completely illegal in about 17 different ways. But it was theirs, and Maya wouldn't trade it for anything. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.